Are we live already? Oh, okay, great. We're live right now. All right. Hey, everybody. It's Jonathan Harmon with the J Harmon Home Team, powered by Keller Williams. This is Table Talk episode 4, right, Trent? Yes, episode 4. Jay was not, but I know Taylor was a guest on Coffee Talk many moons ago. And interestingly enough, you sent Joel Bigelow my way years ago, and he was our guest on murfreesboro.com this week. So that's pretty cool.
Wonderful guy.
Oh, super guy. Joel. Yep. He even gave me a hug when he left. You know, who doesn't love a hug? You can answer that. Jay's I don't like hugs. Don't touch me.
Pandemic.
I think I was on Coffee Talk. Or did we do a Facebook Live?
Oh, we did. That's right.
Highly acclaimed.
Yes.
Ratings out the
I think we got like 7 views, and they were all my mom at different times.
My mom was on Facebook. It was a good show. It's great topics, great conversations, what I remember.
Yes.
Great cup of coffee we got to celebrate together.
Oh, holy cow. I forgot about that one. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it. I bet it was great.
Just history and just awesome.
So I've got J Cash, James R. Cash, auction, and something else, right?
Real estate.
Auction and real estate. Yeah, a little.
Mm-hmm.
You have conferred with me on multiple occasions that you don't really like real estate agents. Is that right?
Love some. The 22,000. Occasionally, there's a few bad ones, but you're going to find that with dentists and attorneys.
The fun thing is we share that opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Occasionally, I don't even like myself sometimes.
Yeah,
you
worked with closing attorneys that couldn't close the front door, much less close a transaction. So
bless their hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. But you try to stay away from you want to be with the good ones and stay away from the bad ones. But it takes all kinds to go around.
That's right. There was a movie. Was it called Vampire in Brooklyn? It had Eddie Murphy.
Oh,
it was terrible.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And you remember he was the preacher, but he was outside the church, and he said, "Evil is good, because without evil, how do you know what good is?"
There you go. Spread the positive.
Spread the positive. That's right.
So without Jonathan, how do you know who Jay is?
That's it. You got it. That's exactly right. And then we got Taylor Loyal with Second Harvest, and just one of the most genuinely good dudes that I know.
Is there another guest?
No, that's you, man. So you guys take a second. Besides being genuinely good dudes, tell me a little bit about you, Jay.
Well, I'm a second-generation auctioneer, real estate broker, and I'm a transplant to Murfreesboro, but I've been here since 2004. So at what point can you say
you're almost naturalized?
I'm here, I've been here, but MTSU brought me like so many other folks, and I met my wife shortly after coming. We just liked it here, and we stayed here and been here ever since. So
where'd you move from?
I moved from Western Kentucky.
Ooh.
Far Western Kentucky. I'm not talking Bowling Green. We're like we touch Missouri.
Okay.
But almost touch Illinois.
As long as we're not talking Bowling Green.
No, long ways away from there, but it's the true Western Kentucky. So I've been here ever since, and we have a beautiful family. Perry, a daughter, she's 3. And my son Gentry is going to be 1 year old in just a few days.
Wow.
So we're figuring all that out as we go, and just so blessed where life has brought us and taken us to, and building connections throughout the community, and just glad to be here with you. So that's me in a nutshell.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk a whole lot more about auctions and your company doing that here in just a little bit, because you've got a pretty unique niche that you have built yourself into, and I definitely want to talk 100%, about that.
100%.
Yeah. Taylor, tell me a little bit about you.
Donor relationships manager at Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. I work with a lot of donors, companies, individuals, foundations in Rutherford and surrounding counties. Like Jay, also a transplant, and also from Western Kentucky.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we, I think I got here in 2007, so a little bit after Jay did, but fell in love with the community. Raising kids here, can't imagine living anywhere else.
Yeah, I hear that. And you are also an accomplished journalist in your past life, huh?
Yeah. So actually, the Daily News Journal is what brought me here initially, and then my wife, and then had kids here. But I started there in 2007. Left in 2015 to go to Second Harvest.
Yeah. I always loved reading your articles because they weren't boring. They always, like, your personality absolutely came through in your articles. And, you don't say that about all of them. You know what I mean? And we've actually, it's small, but we've got a pretty good staff, I think, here that writes our local news. But I always enjoyed reading your articles, probably
Thanks,
more than
man.
everybody else. So, not just because you're sitting here. It's
You
true.
were the one that enjoyed reading them.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. You had one. So
but yeah, they still got a great, Scott Broden, Nancy DeJaneiro over there.
Mhm.
Still really, really good. A lot of good folks there. Still doing good journalism. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna jump in on our topics here, and I told you guys, gave you just a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight, and Jay said, "All right, stop. I want you to surprise me with the
Yes.
specific topic." So that's good. It's a lot more fun that way. In our format, we always do a real estate topic and then a non-real estate topic. So real estate topic, we've talked on some of the previous episodes, we've talked a lot about the current market and, are we in a bubble? That's the question we get all the time. Are we in a bubble? What's going to happen when the market crashes and all this stuff? And, we generally, pretty much everybody that's been on here agrees that we're not really in a bubble, that there are economic reasons why we are where we are. And the likelihood of us having a major crash is pretty small. There will be a correction. There will be a slowdown. There will be some fluctuation, some downward trending. But nobody's really saying that we're going to just bottom out like we did in 08, 09. And would you agree with that assessment?
I would agree with that assessment. 100% correct.
Okay. That's awesome. I love
Let's
this
do
guy.
the whole podcast this way.
Yeah.
Just say stuff and we'll
Yes.
agree.
No, I'm ready. I know what's coming.
So in that, there's lots of options, and now more than ever, there's all kinds of options as far as people selling their houses. You can always go the traditional route and hire a real estate agent, put it on the market the normal way, show it the quote normal way, have an open house, whatever, right? That's one way. Of course, we've got the iBuyer situation where you've got Open Door and Zillow, and Keller Williams actually has their own version of that now. I don't know if you knew that. There's gazillions of them at this point. I'm only scratching the surface. And then all the rental companies as well.
Wholesale buyers.
Yep, that come in and buy stuff. Then you've got folks that are going around trying to buy some homes that are a little distressed, that are, looking for the flip house situation. And then you've also got, of course, we got Jay sitting here. So another option always on the table is auction.
Yeah. To go back to your previous question, in all seriousness, though, that's everybody has that. When's the right time to sell? When is should we sell now? And my answer to everyone is when you're ready.
Yes.
Are you ready? Are you ready to make this move? Are you going, your mother-in-law moving to assisted living? Is she really ready? Because the right time is when you're ready. You can't sit around and just try to predict. I truly think maybe the peak of the market, we may have seen the peak, I think maybe for a little while. Then mid-July came and I thought, ooh, here we go. Slowing down a little bit. What's going on? And then it's back to the races and multiple offers on everything. So that shows what I know, I know when we're in it, things are good. It's positive. Can I predict what's going to happen in March of next year? I can't. I think it's going to be fine if you wait. I don't know. Don't see anything that's just alarming. But if I could figure out a way to predict the future, let me tell you, we'd be in business.
Yeah.
Then I could really do some neat things.
Well, and what I've told everybody is the only thing I can predict right now with absolute certainty is volatility. We are in an extremely, and in all kinds of things. And I know you're seeing that in your line of work as well. We're just in a volatile era within our country right now. What are you, you're shaking your head. Yes.
Yeah. The sound didn't pick up my
the rattling
tiny brain cells rattling around in there. Last year was just such a, you sort of volatile, I think is probably a great word. In about 2 months last year, we probably undid 10 years worth of progress in terms of poverty and unemployment and hunger and those kinds of things. It was insane. And, but ever since then, we've kind of been digging our way back out. We have an amazing community that when people are hurting, this community really, that's part of why I fell in love with Rutherford County. When people are hurting, it never fails that the community rallies behind them and helps them out. And so we have been digging out of that, but I think probably also during that same time, a lot of people were sitting at home and they're looking at their house going, wish this house was a little bit bigger. I wish I had a home office. I wish
Right.
I had
A deck, a view, whatever.
Yeah, and they're in front of their computer looking online, thinking like, oh, what about that house?
Well, and that's the craziest thing about it is this market that we are in. You know, it was already extremely robust going into the pandemic, and you know, conventional wisdom would say, oh, we're in a pandemic, everybody locks down, oh, everything's going to grind to a halt, and it did for about 3 weeks.
Yep.
Maybe 4, maybe. And then all of a sudden it went bananas. And, you know, we pulled numbers recently in September to September. So September of 2021 to, or 2020 to 2021, September to September, 27% appreciation in Rutherford County. 27%, y'all. Historical average is 3 to 4.
Pretty strong.
But the question always is it? Like, is that a good thing?
You know, I've got a neighbor. They bought their house and they decided they didn't like it. They thought, we're going to lose our tail on this thing.
And they made money.
And they made, if I told you the amount, you wouldn't believe me. But it's a true
I would
number.
absolutely believe you.
In less than 6 months. Just unbelievable what they made. And the folks that bought it, guess where they're from?
California.
Yeah, they're in California.
Yeah.
And like, what made you come here? Because it's not there, is what they said. And I thought, wow, that's a neat statement. And
yeah.
There's wonderful people. And it's a testament to the area, the climate, the culture, the community that's here. And really, at the end of the day, people just want to have confidence and certainty that you said when it comes time to selling their house. They just want to know, am I making a good decision? And that's where
right.
a good realtor comes into play. That's what I think I do very, very well, is just provide people with certainty that you're getting the most money in this environment, in this current market.
For your particular circumstance.
For this right here.
Mm-hmm.
We could wait. We can't go back in time. Can't do that. And we can't predict what's going to happen in the future. But right now, we're going to do everything we can to give you the utmost confidence that you're making the right decision to move. And there's a lot of ways they can do that.
Sure.
And so that's what I do that's a little bit different, which is selling it via an auction. And, I'm happy to dive into that without just taking over control of the podcast.
So
here.
let's do, can you give me like a 2-minute auction 101? Yeah.
Well, I think at the end of the day, people want to have certainty. They want to have confidence that they're getting the most money for their most valuable assets, whether, in at auction, the finest assets in the world are sold at auction.
Mm-hmm.
You can go from automobiles, racehorses, fine art, jewelry. Real estate is no exception. Now, on the flip side, there are a lot of folks that think of auctions and go, man, that's for people who are dying, or they're getting divorced, or they've run out of money, and this is the last option.
Or the house is in terrible shape.
And the house is in awful shape. And by all means, those are also auctions. Any property, any asset, this table, anything you've got, clothes, Elton John's stage worn costumes, anything can be sold at auction.
Where did that come from?
Just trying to be unique, obviously. Also, because it was something
he puts
just
that on every listing just to get people out.
He recently sold some stage worn costumes, and they sold exceptionally well over what anyone thought they would bring, and that's what an auction can do. But it all comes down to the person you hire. Are they competent? Do they know what they're doing? Are they a professional? Because the barrier to entry to any of the professions I've talked about kind of would alarm you at times. And what I have learned, even in the medical field. Yeah, there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through to become a doctor, but there are some doctors, if you knew just how little they knew, you'd be scared to death to let them touch you.
Yeah, they don't put their test scores on their medical license.
That's
true. The same can be said for real estate agents.
For all walks of life. That's why it's so important to just do research and check and ask the people around for some demonstrated, capacity. What has this person done? Who have they done it for? And what has their success rate been? Sure. And that's what I try to hang my hat on, is whenever we're coming to the table, this is what we've done. This is who we've done it for. And I can lay out a plethora of ideas and options that are for you. Not everyone is suited for an auction. So getting back to
let's do that real quick. So, I laid out a couple of different ways that houses get sold now. You look at a Zillow or an Open Door, and they come in and they make an offer without ever looking at the house. It's based on whatever their version of comps are for your particular home. And they say, okay, we'll offer you, $100,000, not in Rutherford County anymore, but let's say $100,000. Then they come in and after that, they inspect the home and they look at it and they say, okay, you really need paint, you really need carpet, you really need this, you really need that. That $100,000 is going to look more like, $96,000 or whatever, right? They adjust it, or they want to adjust it. And then you have the option to get in and, stay in or get out. of the deal. A traditional real estate agent that knows what they're doing walks through your house. They analyze what the house looks like. They say, in order for us to get the most out of it, you really need to paint this room. You really need to put new carpet in. You really need to freshen up the landscaping. We're going to take great pictures, blah, 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 right? Most everybody's kind of familiar with that. Now, what's the same in a nutshell, what a good auctioneer is going to do?
A good auctioneer on a property, if it's in high demand, there's a lot of people that are going to be after this property. That's an excellent candidate for an auction. And if it's a property that is in need of repair and you don't know what you're going to do next, my God, it needs everything. Where do you start? Great auctions. Anything can be sold. It's all about the seller situation. So in that scenario where there's multiple offers, this is a scenario where I would love nothing more to talk to you for hours recorded to see how long we could go back and forth, of what the best option is. And ultimately, should you have an auction or list it, it all depends on the seller situation
100%.
and what's right for them. I can figure that out within about 2 or 3 minutes, probably a phone call. Is this something that is going to work for you? Are you going to be able to understand all the nuances? And that's what I have to be completely clear and transparent in our communication. So an auction that's going to get multiple offers, you could have multiple offers with the realtor. There's no wrong answer. There's just different things that go in, even in a listing. So Jonathan sits down with the seller. My gosh, we've gotten 7 offers on this house. First thing the seller's going to say is, that's amazing. Which the best one? You have to say, well, I've analyzed, I've looked at them, and there's some things we need to talk about. This one is no contingencies, total cash buyer. It's 100% of what you were asking for, full price. This next one, cash offer, but they got a few nuances. They want to get a home inspection, and they're probably going to ask for us to fix a few things.
Mm-hmm.
These other 2 are going to be subject to financing. They've offered more than the price of the home.
So which one's better?
Which one's better? Well,
it depends on the seller situation.
Do we want to gamble that this one that's got an escalation clause and it's, that's where we will pay any dollar amount over the highest offer up to a set number, $30,000 more. Well, that sounds great, except they need financing. Well,
so it has to appraise.
We're dead in the water. Maybe not. It might appraise. How many times have you had an appraiser come out and you just want to scream, but they're trying to, they either are not doing their job or they really are doing their job of, there's no comps that suggest this yet, but come back in a few
and you got to
months.
understand that an appraiser protects a bank.
Yep.
That's ultimately what their job
Yes.
is to make sure that the bank is loaning on an asset that's worth loaning.
And so which one's the best offer? Well, Jonathan and the seller sit down and they go, we want to get married to this person. We think this is the right one. And inevitably, we hope it all goes well and you have a nice wedding, a nice closing here in about 3 weeks or whenever it comes to.
I like the way you say wedding as opposed to the way I say it. So yeah,
I have no clue. Just funny thing. Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that.
And hopefully it all works out, but sometimes things happen and you call off the wedding and it doesn't work and you got to go back to dating and figure out which one of those offers can we get. They've probably all moved on. And then at that point, you're competing with days on market. Now, that's a scenario that's not always going to happen. It's not going to happen if you got a competent realtor that knows what they're doing.
Sure.
And you know who you got on the other side representing the buyer. But there's a ton of scenarios where that doesn't work. So at an auction, you alleviate all that and you set the terms and conditions. You pick the date and the time that you want to sell it, and you invite everybody to the house at the same time with the property, and they can bid. One thing I'll say, thanks to COVID, is online bidding and Zoom and all that is so much more widely accepted. I go back to remembering when I didn't even have a Zoom account, felt weird anytime somebody wanted to send you a Zoom link. Now I'm like, this is brilliant. Like, I don't have to stay here, don't have to go anywhere.
I don't have to put pants on.
Exactly. And the online auctions, it makes things so much more acceptable for folks to bid online. So there's really no excuse. If you're going to be on vacation or anywhere, you can bid on your phone. And there is a beautiful thing when sellers can see the market. They can see everyone come. At an auction, you're still going to have people that want to look at the house. You're still going to have people that want to maybe get an inspection. We're not there to mislead or deceive anybody. You're totally allowed to do all these things, but it's just not subject to it after the property is sold. If you come to the auction and whatever number you pay and it turns out that it doesn't appraise for that amount, well, you are still under obligation to pay for it. And that has happened many times.
Sure.
There are other times I've worked with some great realtors, top producers, and it's just a hard property to comp that we could all go out there and figure out a number that we think it's worth
and be very different
and
from
be
each other.
Totally different. And that's where, you know what? It's ultimately up to what somebody wants to buy. The worst thing you want to do is overprice it and tell the world this is what it's definitely not worth after 2 or 3 months. And that doesn't happen that often, but it's easy on a house that's over improved or
just weird.
It's
right?
just weird.
It's 100 acres in Murfreesboro city limits or something.
Or,
crazy.
it's the biggest house in the subdivision, the only one with the swimming pool, and it's got other things that nobody else maybe or maybe not care about. That's a great time to figure out what is it worth. And there's a ton of safety nets and things that are in place to protect the seller to make sure they're going to get the most money.
Let's talk about that for a second. So, I have family that goes and attends auctions all the time, right? And usually it's they look through the junk, the stuff, right? Taylor's smiling because he's like, "Yep, been there, done that," and it's fun,
Fun.
There is absolutely a correlation, or at least there used to be, to what's the weather like that day, right? And so if I'm looking at selling my house at auction, and I wake up that morning when the auction's supposed to happen, and it's tornadoes and thunderstorms, what do you do?
I would be a little hesitant, but ultimately, I find on those days there's something in people's minds. They're either needy or they're greedy, because they figure, oh, hell, there's a tornado. Nobody else is going to be there. We have to go. There could be a deal, because that's why everybody does come, because they are ultimately in control of what they're going to pay for this property. And they're hoping the tornado is going to scare everybody else off. If it rains, I'm so happy if it rains, because there's nothing else to do. People want to come. And there's a lot of thought that goes into the date and the time of when you want to have this auction.
Sure. I've seen Thursday afternoons. I've seen Saturday
Sunday
mornings.
afternoons are becoming probably the hottest thing. We started that just a few years ago, and it is remarkable, the amount of people that come out on a Sunday afternoon to attend an auction. But there are safety nets in place. The seller's in full control with an auction. They are in control where, up to the day and time of the sale before it starts, they can withdraw the property from an auction. Now, I don't want to work for somebody that's going to be that wishy-washy, no different than you don't want to spend a ton of money marketing and getting promotional material together, and they go, Jonathan, we've decided we want to stay here. You would figure that out in the first conversation.
Sure.
They're not really committed to sell. And that's what you do. That's what I do as well, to make sure we're ready to sell. A lot of times it could be an asset, such a property that is vacant. It's a beautiful home. Could be a very, very nice home, but the sellers have bought another property, and there is carrying cost to keeping that property.
That's right.
It needs to go. It needs to go. And that is the ultimate way to figure out what it's worth. If you have a properly advertised auction, properly conducted, and that is making the buyers feel warm and welcome. There shouldn't be any questions, no gray area trying to figure out what are questions people might have about a certain property. We try to put all that information out there to give people certainty, confidence, make them feel good. And at the end of the day, a property is only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. Now, on Coffee Talk a few years ago, I don't know, probably pre-COVID.
It's been a while.
You said, well, doesn't that eliminate people who need financing? Don't auctions just alleviate a lot of people, a lot of buyer market? And
so let me interrupt you. I'm gonna pull Taylor in on this. So Taylor, you guys moved relatively recently, and you guys bought your home, sold your home in the more quote traditional way, as far as used an agent, all that kind of stuff. What would prevent? So did you ever consider auctioning your home? Question one. And then question two, did you consider buying an auction property?
Honestly, no. But that doesn't have anything to do with anything that
and this is not a no, Jay sucks.
Yeah.
It's more just like, and I'm curious, like, from your perspective,
we did what you actually what Jay described, which was or you described of looking at one of these national deals or whatever, where they offer you a price. We didn't even consider that at all, because we knew how valuable it was to have somebody locally who could walk in and be like, I know everything about this neighborhood. I know, everything that this property has going for it, what is going to be appealing to buyers in this market today. And I also know the rest of Rutherford County. And if you're looking to move to this side of town, I can recommend places here. That's what I was telling somebody the other day. Like, that's what those big national outfits, they can't do any of that.
Yeah, they've never.
Now, if you, I guess if your goal is I just want to sell this house, I don't want to have to think about it at all. Sure. I guess that I could see how that could be beneficial. But to me, it was so valuable to have somebody locally who really understood the market here, understood our house, was able to walk through and say, hey, fix this, but don't bother to fix that.
Right.
That was really priceless for us.
Well, and so Jay, the other thing, and this is what I've always found interesting. My real question, I guess, I interrupted you. I apologize, but
it's cool. It's your show.
Yeah, Thanks. But the big thing is at auction, not every buyer should buy an auction house.
100%.
And in fact, I would say a lot of buyers, it's not for them, because to your point, once that gavel drops, it's their baby. I mean, you don't have contingencies, you don't have finance, you don't have appraisal, you don't have inspection.
In the past
Contingencies.
year, I've seen flippers. So there's several different type buyers that'll come to an auction. There's two different types of flippers. There's a flipper, an investor who knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what it's going to cost.
And then there's somebody that went to a seminar,
watched a couple television shows, a couple of YouTube series, and by gosh, we can figure this out as we go.
That's right. I'm handy. I can do this.
And the whole thing is you've got to get a property first. It's so hard to get your hands on a property.
But the money's made on the buy.
Yeah. That's when you make your
Period.
money. And I've talked to several people that have said, "Ooh, we overpaid. We paid too much." And that's not because they really didn't overpay. They just paid one increment bid over what the last person was willing to pay. They paired what it was worth that day, fair market value. Now, in their mind, they overpaid because they didn't understand the cost of renovating bathroom, kitchens, and all the things that go involved. And that's not necessarily my job to stop and do that. We don't.
Market doesn't give you margin.
Yeah,
that's the problem, right?
Yep.
And so if you're flipping and you're going to sell in 3 months, you got to predict what that margin's going to be, or you've got to pad yourself. So market sales do not give you the margin to flip a house.
Yeah, wise investments can be made, but again, you got to be confident in what you're doing, and that's no different than at an auction. You can bring a realtor in to help you. You can bring anybody you want to come in. You bring your doctor, your lawyer, your preacher, whoever, to give you guidance.
Your shaman.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all, depends on who else shows up that day and what happens at the day of the auction, whether you get it or not. But smart investments can be made. There's a lot of people say, "Ooh, we got a great deal." And that's wonderful. That's really what I like to have happen, as a seller that's happy. Buyer feels like they got a good buy, and the world moves on. No different than a traditional listing.
Well, one last question on this topic, and then we're going to switch to the next one, is who is your ideal client to sell an auction house? What is your ideal scenario?
There's a ton.
Just one.
Just one. A lot is my dad died in April, so I have a whole new perspective on this. It's working with the family when they've lost a parent or both parents in that life. That is hard. You don't know the emotions you're about to go through cleaning out your dad's stuff, your mother's stuff, or grandma's stuff, or whatever. And
from however many decades.
Yeah, the finality of that, and just being able to help somebody to go, look, when this is over, you can write a book and you'll be able to help anybody. But right now, you need help. You have all this things going on. You're trying to figure out just how to get the internet or TV or cable and bank accounts closed. And this asset here is scaring you to death on what you're going to do. Being able to help that family is something that I just absolutely cherish, because I know what they're going through now better than I ever did in the past. I've done it 1,000 times, but now more than ever, once I've experienced it, I go, hey, this is a loss. You have a loss, and we want to honor them by doing everything we can to make this property look as good as we can, sell it for as most money.
And personal property. That's the thing. You take a huge burden off of folks, cleaning it out, getting it ready. And it's not free, but you guys work that in, and it's extremely fair the way you do it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I was just sitting here when you asked me the other question. I was thinking, but if I died and I left everything to my kids, I'd probably want them to call Jay.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty big burden to leave on somebody. Like, hey, my dad had all these cool records or whatever. I don't know what any of them are worth.
Right.
I really, I might care about 10 of them, and the rest of them, somebody else might appreciate.
I like how you said cool records. I'm curious if I asked your kids if they would think they were cool too.
No, and that's really the neat thing of an auctioneer is we're advisors. We work with attorneys, work with all sorts of bankers. What is this asset worth? What is the best way to dispose of it? And there are many times I say you need to go with a realtor. You need to sit tight for many, many reasons. But then there's other times I go, this just is what it should be. This is an auction, and you're going to come out winning. And echoing what you just said, 100%.
We're going to shift gears for a sec, and this is going to be a fun one. And November just started. This year's gone bananas. We've talked about the volatile just situation that we're in our country right now for all kinds of reasons, politically, socially, economically. It's just volatile. Like it's just like there's just uneasiness. At least I feel that. And I'm going to open it up with a really generic statement or topic, if you will. And then I've got a couple of things specifically, but I would love to hear you guys just almost like word association. Okay. So when I say this, what is your like off the cuff reaction? Okay. All right. So the topic is helping those in need. And Taylor, I'm gonna start one word and you tell me your first reaction. Homeless.
Preventable.
Okay. Jay, homeless.
I'm at a loss for words at this point.
That never happens.
You tell me homeless, what I think of. Golly, I'm going to echo Taylor right here. Preventable.
All right. Assistance.
I mean, the first things coming to mind is two-sided, and I'll explain why. I think before I got into the nonprofit world, I had this view that there were these people, this one group of people that needed help, and this other group of people that were helping them, and I didn't really make the connection that oftentimes the people who are helping are doing so for a reason that's actually beneficial. And I'm not talking about tax purposes or anything.
No.
I'm talking about their souls.
You're getting to a word that I'm about to say.
So
but go ahead. No. Carry on.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay.
Didn't know we could explain ourselves so well, but no, that's kind of where I was going with assistance. Thinking about the community and all that the resources are out there, but it shouldn't be taken advantage of.
Okay, it's fair. And then the last one, and then we'll just actually converse here. You were starting to get there. Altruism.
I think I have found, and I don't have a one-word answer for you here, but I think people do it for more altruistic reasons. I always say I'm constantly, and especially after the last year, I'm constantly overwhelmed by how big the need is, but I'm also overwhelmed by how many people are willing to help people who are in need. And I think that even if you get down to, a company who's doing it for marketing or a person who's writing a check on December 31st for tax reasons or whatever, there's still an altruistic component to that I've just seen time and time again. It's given me a lot of faith in humanity.
Sure.
Kind of ties into the other part of our business, which is the fundraising and benefit auctions that we do across the country. And it is a very rewarding thing to invite somebody to be a part of something you are passionate about, to give them an opportunity to contribute and to see the importance of it. And I can't wait to see where we're going with this. So see what the next part of this program is going.
I got you. So, as I have grown up, and of course there's a whole Toys R Us kid thing, but whatever. Right. But as I have gotten older and tempered my opinions with life experiences. Right. And I think that's really what it's about. Right. And I revisit things that I've always, quote, known, if that makes sense. And, I look at a situation like this. So kind of paint the picture. You're driving, you come up to the red light, you got the guy standing on the side of the road. He's got his little sign, he's got a little cup, and the majority of the time, I'm the guy that's like, just look straight ahead, don't make eye contact, but then sometimes for whatever reason, call it God, call it something else. I don't know what it is. All of a sudden I'm like, I need to make a contact with this guy. Right. And maybe it's I need to give him $1. Maybe it's I need to roll down my window and shake his hand or something. And I don't know why I do that sometimes. And I really don't know why I don't do it all the time. Do you know what I mean? And so I think about like homeless folks and giving assistance. And, I worry sometimes if I give assistance, is it going to be abused? Is it going to be, do they really need the help? Are they going to turn around and walk around the corner and get into their whatever car and drive to a whatever house? And I'm starting to evolve to the point where I don't care about that.
Thank you.
And it's uncomfortable, to be honest with you. It's uncomfortable for me to start to not care about that. And it's interesting. You just said, thank you. Tell me more. Why did you say that?
Well, there's probably a lot to unpack here, but two quick things on the guy at the stoplight or whatever, right? So first of all, if you want to give him $1 or $10 or $100, do it. We're back to like, does that do something for you? But the second thing is, I hate to say it, but that person is a bad representation of what poverty in Rutherford County looks like. Most of the people that we serve aren't. They're not standing at the stoplight because they're working their second shift at their second job right now and having trouble making ends meet. And so I think sometimes people look at that and they go, well, I don't want to give that guy money because, who knows if he'll waste it or whatever. Which
he's going to go buy booze.
Which, by the way, like I go buy booze with my money. So, I left all that stuff a long time ago.
Sure.
Either give him money or don't, but don't sit there and do the math in your head of like, well, if I give him $1, like your dollar's not that. I mean, I hate to say it, but you must think pretty highly of yourself if you're thinking about how that guy is going to use your dollar. Like, just keep it in your wallet if that's the case. But I'll tell you a quick story. So, we at Second Harvest, we do what are called mobile pantries. You've been to one. They're really the best way to get a whole lot of people, a whole lot of food in a really short amount of time. So we have a tractor trailer with about 25,000 pounds of food on it, fresh, healthy food, canned goods, staples, things like peanut butter and milk and eggs and all that. And we'll set up in one of our partner agencies' parking lot, and we'll have, people come through and get food. Pre-COVID, we typically set them up like a farmer's market, and people could go through with shopping carts and stuff. Because of COVID, because of social distancing, and also because the lines were so long, typically you'll just see people, the volunteers loading food into people's cars.
Y'all were curbside before curbside was cool.
Yeah, exactly. But it's enough food to provide about 200 to 250 families with a week or two worth of groceries. So it's really, and the whole thing lasts about probably 4 or 5 hours from setup to food distribution to taking everything down. But I was at one of these one time in Smyrna, and people do this the same way you do it with the guy on the corner. People are looking at cars, trying to in their head think like, well, that person shouldn't be in line.
Qualify.
Look how nice their car. Yeah. And so this lady pulls up, and she's probably got like a $50,000 truck. And so one of the volunteers said to her, like, hey, that's a nice truck, and she knew what he's doing. And she goes, yeah, well, my husband cheated on me and left me and the kids. And the only thing that I got in the divorce was this truck. And so
you just don't know.
You don't know what people are going through. You don't know if somebody bought a really nice car when they had a job and things were going well for them, and now they're upside down on it and they can't get rid of it.
Somebody died. Mom bought the car.
They got a great deal at an auction.
Yeah.
You don't know why people are in the situations that they're in. So the two things that I've quit questioning, back to your altruistic question, I quit questioning why people are in need beyond the fact that, like, how else could I help them? And I quit questioning why people give, because people will do the same thing the other way, where they'll go like, well, that person's only giving because they look good when they do it, or that person's only doing it for, and it's like,
all I picture,
I'm not interested in either of those, except to the extent that how could I better help somebody.
I picture the tipping scene at the counter in Seinfeld. You remember that, where he takes it back out and puts it back in, and the guy turns around and looks. Yeah, that's great. And the other thing that I look at is the why are you in need? To your point, do you want to give whatever you're giving? If the answer to that is yes, then you give. And what happens with what is given in a like a one-on-one exchange, the guy on the corner, that part's on them, right? And
well, the other part of it is, though, if somebody's coming to get food, I am interested in, what led you, what series of events happened that you're here today.
Yeah.
And how can we help you so that you're not here again next month? Now, you do have people that are just chronically hungry. You have, we do senior food boxes. I'm not going to tell a 90-year-old woman to go get a job or whatever, right? But I am interested in, like, how did you get here today? What happened, so that we can figure that out. And that's what we work with a lot of our partner agencies on. Like, they're doing more than just food, so that they can get to really the core of the problem, so that then they don't need to come back the next month or 6 months from now.
Sure.
It's so important just to create awareness. Some people they don't know. They just don't even realize the story. And so when we work with nonprofits, I mean, I can run the gamut of who we run for. You have no clue this is a need in your community. You have no reason. It's not even on your radar. And that's what it's your job, our job, when I'm fundraising for someone, is to tell that story. I'm trying to understand where this person's coming from, and maybe you relate to that story. Just like watching a movie, you want to tell a good story, and that inspires people. They didn't have any bad intentions of not donating. They just didn't understand that, this is why we're doing it. And there are things of like just food deserts, and where there's no fresh food. There isn't an option. These people don't have cars, and it's 2 miles, 3 miles away. And, there's studies of within just zip codes of these people have more health issues or heart issues because they don't have access to fresh groceries and you don't think that's a big deal, but in Philadelphia, it's a major deal.
Sure.
And we're blessed
in Rutherford County.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. You go far enough out in the county.
If you don't have a vehicle or reliable transportation, you do not get access to the fresh food that could really make you healthier and live longer, and could get you healthier to and
improve your quality of life overall. Anyway, I told you I interviewed Joel the other day, and one of the things that kind of came out of our conversation is that, especially in a place like Rutherford County, wealth masks poverty. So in other words, and you said you don't even necessarily realize that's an issue in your community, because we are wealthy enough overall in this county that we can mask things. And that creates sometimes they pulled up in a fill in the blank car. Why are they getting food boxes?
Right. And I would say from a, in a bigger scale, prosperity, like the prosperity of our county masks the poverty that exists in our county, because we have such a great story to tell about, all the wonderful things that are happening here. And we get so zeroed in on that story, which is a great story to tell. But sometimes you forget, like, and all the excitement about the new, to your point, the new grocery stores coming to town. That's great. But it's like, it's going on the side of town where there's already 3 grocery stores.
Right.
And then there's one closing on the side of town when it was the last one there.
That happened in Smyrna, the Nissan side of town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Very interesting. Guys, I appreciate y'all so much. I appreciate all that you do. We're going to take just a couple minutes, each of you, give your kind of pitch about your specific organization. So, Jay, give me 2 or 3 minutes on James R. Cash, why you guys are.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come here. Love chatting with you. Just with the footprint in 14 states, we have the ability to promote market assets to a national, international buyer base, people who are willing to pay the most for your stuff. There are more buyers out there than you realize for the assets that you may have. And that's really how the world works. You buy stuff, you enjoy it, then you get ready to sell it. And we help you on both ends of the spectrum. When you're
George Carlin had a great bit on that one time.
Maybe I need to see it.
I cannot repeat it in this particular setting, but you need to watch it.
And then the flip side, which we didn't really talk about at all, was just the fundraising and benefit auctions that we do. And, people, deserve to celebrate causes and things that are important to them. And there's no better way to do that than in a live setting. And
it's exciting. It's fun.
Arm around other people and celebrate. And it's not to make, look at you, how great you are. It's to celebrate the good work that the people are doing in the community. And there are some people that they can't donate their time, perhaps, but they can donate money. And that is important. We need to collect money. And so that's where I'm the one that encourages you to give just a little bit more. And that's the auctioneer's role. But
encourages or harasses?
Not harass. It's encouraged.
It's a fine line, isn't it?
Multiple opportunities to donate at any level that's meaningful to you is what we like to say. And so that's what we do. From fundraising to real estate all over the country, 14 states as far as real estate goes. That's what we do at James R. Cash Auctions.
Right on. All right, Taylor.
Well, I've always said if I was going to do my elevator pitch, the elevator would have to break down and we'd get stuck, because I'm terrible at doing this in 30 seconds or 2 minutes or any of that. But, I was just thinking right now, as we sit here, 1 in 8 people in Middle Tennessee, including 1 in 7 children, will go to bed hungry tonight, and that's really what I'm talking about in the story that we tell about our community. It's really exciting times here, but yet that still exists. And so Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee, we were founded in 1978. We were one of the first food banks in the country. We're one of the most innovative. We serve 46 counties throughout Middle and West Tennessee. We have partnerships with grocery stores, farmers, food manufacturers. Our friend Teresa Austin and Rotary with us at Taylor Farms. They donate lots and lots of food. But what we ran into last year was, a lot of the food that we get from grocery stores. I don't know if you walked into a grocery store in the last year and a half, there's not much left. So we purchased more food than ever during a time when we were having to distribute more food than we ever had to distribute. And that's where dollars come in, because we're able to purchase food on a wholesale level. It's economies of scale. The more
give us the conversion, because it's incredible.
Well, so to that point, when you roll up the donated food, the purchased food, the food that comes from food drives and things like that, every dollar that is donated to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee will provide 4 meals for someone in need. So I always tell people, just, that is a math I would encourage you to do.
That's amazing.
If you're going to donate $2,500, that's 10,000 meals. $25,000, that's 100,000 meals. And then, beyond that, we're able to do that because 96 cents of every dollar that's donated to Second Harvest goes directly to feeding hungry people. So, we have a facility in Rutherford County now. It opened in summer of 2018. And I always just tell people, I guess my elevator pitch is, we always need food, funds, and friends. So, if you are a farmer or a grocery store, or you just want to do a food drive, if you want to donate, that every dollar will provide 4 meals. Or if you want to come out and volunteer at our facility in Smyrna, our shifts are about 2.5 hours long. We play music. We have fun.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And then at the end of it, the cool part is we'll tell you exactly how much food that you sorted, how many pounds of food that is. And so you walk out of there really knowing that you made a difference.
That's awesome. And the work that you guys do, the ability that you have, I mean, when you think about it, a quarter feeds somebody a meal.
Yep.
I mean, that's amazing. I know that's one reason STP gets behind Second Harvest. We're with the funds that we bring in here at STP, we're making donations to you guys as well. Did you know that, by the way? Okay, I was gonna say I don't know if you knew that. Hey, guess what, Taylor?
Well, Trent and I talked, and shout out to Trent. Trent's awesome.
So we'll be stroking you a check before the end of the year for that. So anyway, it's pretty cool. But I guess that's it. We'll put y'all's contact info in the comments. So if we need an auction, there's no one that I would call before I'd call Jay Cash. That's for sure. And as far as looking for somewhere to volunteer, put your treasure, put your time. There's not a better choice than Second Harvest.
Thank you.
So you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for being on here. Thank you for watching. If you need real estate stuff, if you don't want to call Jay, call me. Even if you do want to call Jay, call me also. Yep. And we can talk 2 different strategies there. So you guys have a good rest of the week. We'll talk to you again real soon.